You have a new project in the works called Cell Fuel. Can you describe that a little bit for us?
Cell is a collaboration with Dr. Todd Lapine, who's an integrative medical physician and Dartmouth-trained guy. He also lectures quite a bit around the country. He's very well known, a very smart guy, and we collaborated on Cell Fuel, and it's a program direct to consumer. You can learn more about it directly on the internet at cell-fuel.com. But it's really a system that people can use. It's a nutraceutical, nutritional supplement program that has a couple of different levels of intervention, but it's really geared toward optimal mitochondrial function. And the mitochondria are the organelles in cells that essentially make energy. They're known as the powerhouse of the cell. And they're extremely important. If your mitochondria are not working at peak efficiency, you have a lot of problems. You generally don't have a lot of energy and vitality. You'll have fatigue. You could get muscle ache. You could get cognitive dysfunction. You're often diagnosed with things like chronic fatigue syndrome. Sometimes you're given the label of fibromyalgia, even though fibromyalgia, as I'll talk about in this conference, technically is a very different thing. It's more of an aberrant way that some people process sensory stimulation coming into their nervous system. They interpret things that shouldn't be painful as painful. That's a different kettle of fish, but a lot of people have mitochondrial dysfunction that gets erroneously labeled or diagnosed as fibromyalgia. And mitochondrial dysfunction is being linked to a whole cadre of chronic diseases from for instance, low mitochondrial function is a big component of metabolic syndrome, which can lead to diabetes. It's a big issue in cardiomyopathies and various cardiovascular disorders. It's huge in degenerative neurological conditions, whether it's dementia or true Alzheimer's, even multiple sclerosis, ALS, a lot of different disorders, and just the things we associate with aging. You know, as we get older, everything's a little harder, right? We don't recover from exertional activities as well. We don't have as much exercise tolerance. We don't have as much stamina and vibrance. And a lot of that is a decline in mitochondrial function as we age, which is natural. Our mitochondria tend to dial down as we get older. The mitochondria, because they produce so much energy, produce a lot of oxidative stress. So they literally get damaged over time. They have their own set of DNA, which is interesting. They come just from our mother versus our nuclear DNA, which makes us look the way we look. And some of our major characteristics come sort of half from mom, half from dad. But from an energy metabolic standpoint, your mitochondrial DNA is what rules the roost, and they come from mom. So if you don't have a lot of cellular vibrance and all of that, you know who to blame. But anyway, the mitochondria are just extremely important. So there's a lot of scientific evidence to show that if you feed the mitochondria right, you give them all of the nutrients and enzyme cofactors to perform better from a biochemical standpoint, they do behave better. So we have a couple of different nutraceuticals that were designed to provide the mitochondria everything they need to make ATP or energy, to be very efficient in their cellular biochemistry. But we also have other nutraceutical products that are meant to improve your number of mitochondria and the density of the mitochondria. It's a process known as mitochondrial biogenesis. And if you look it up in the medical literature, it's a real hot topic in research right now, because if you can get people to make more mitochondria and have them more efficient in what they do, it really solves a lot of metabolic problems that we've been searching for answers for. So we do a lot of that work in our clinical practices one-on-one with patients, where we're dealing with trying to optimize mitochondrial function, doing various testing such as organic acid analysis to really pick apart all of that complicated biochemistry. But for people who are looking for sort of a direct program, if you will, that goes to the heart of this cellular energy, vibrance, and mitochondrial function, they may have chronic fatigue disorders, they may have fibromyalgia, but they may just be an athlete looking for more peak performance. For instance, Olympic athletes, they get organic acid testing right out of the chute, and they know where their strong points and their weak points are in their energy metabolism. And we then find the leverage points on what to give them to push those pathways that may be a little sluggish in them as an individual. Even robust young Olympic athletes have their weak points in biochemistry. But normal folks like us, particularly as we start, getting a little bit older, we can find those things and really tweak their metabolism. So this kind of approach can be used sort of like a Formula One mechanic would finely tune a Formula One race car, or it can also be used in someone who's pretty much in the demolition derby and crashed and burned and really needs to be put back together, and all the spectrum or shades of gray between those. So if you go to cell-fuel.com, you can read a lot about it. There's a lot of literature there about mitochondrial dysfunction and how it relates to disease and just lack of vitality. And particularly for baby boomers aging, those trying to stay athletic, stay in the game, if you will, keep exercising, or those who are kind of crashed and burned with chronic fatigue syndrome or something like that. It's a wonderful resource, and there's a free ebook you can download that really educates you a lot about it.